Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be looking at a build on the Strand Titan that centers around an exotic I haven't seen too much of, and that's Wishful Ignorance. So, let's get right into it. Starting out with our abilities. First up, we have our super, Blade Fury. Now this is a great roaming super that's able to sever and suspend targets, and with the recent buffs to roaming super regeneration, you should be getting this one a lot faster in gameplay. You have your choice of barricade, your jump, and our melee, Frenzied Blade. Now this is a really great melee that comes at base with 3 charges and will sever targets on impact. And for our grenade, we're going to be using Shackle Grenade. Now I have this one equipped just for some extra suspend, but feel free to use either one of the other two, as the grenade isn't essential to this build. Now let's go over to our aspects, starting out with Flechette Storm. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to leap into the air, knocking nearby targets away and dealing damage. While airborne, activate your charged melee again to launch a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles. Repeatedly activating melee will chain additional throws. So here we have another slide melee ability. Similar to Consecration, each input takes half a melee charge, but you're going to want a few stacked up to see some real benefits here. Each charge lifts you a bit further into the air while launching the projectiles. Each projectile unravels targets, so they'll take continuous damage over time. But try to position yourself so that there's a bit of space between you and the targets, as it's very difficult to hit someone directly beneath you with this. And next up, we're going to be using Banner of War. Defeat a target with a melee attack, finisher, or sword to raise a Banner of War that pulses with energy, periodically healing nearby allies and increasing melee and sword damage. Targets defeated by you and nearby allies charge the banner, increasing the speed of its pulses. So here we have our main healing source. The banner is super nice and very easy to activate and level by just getting melee focused kills. The healing from it makes up for us not having a direct source of woven mail, and the increase in damage for our melees and sword is very nice, especially as it will buff our Flechette Storm projectiles. Now let's go over to our fragments, starting out with Thread of Finality. Finisher Final Blows create threadlings. Now this is a very simple fragment that will just help us put some more threadlings out on the field, and will also give us a nice plus 10 to our recovery stat. Next up, Thread of Isolation. Landing rapid precision hits emits a severing burst from the target. Now this is very nice, as sever is a keyword that will have afflicted targets deal less damage to you. So by simply landing rapid precision hits, those targets are going to deal less damage to you. Next up, Thread of Propagation. Powered melee final blows grant your strand weapons unraveling rounds. So this is very nice, as our Flechette Storm final blows will count as powered melee final blows. Therefore, all of our strand weapons will gain unraveling rounds when defeating a target with your Flechette Storm. And it also gives us a nice plus 10 to our strength stat. And rounding it out, we have Thread of Continuity. Suspend, unravel, and sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. Now this is a very basic strand fragment, but it's always welcome in any of our builds, as it will increase the duration of our strand debuffs. Now let's go over to some of our exotics, starting out with Ergo Sum. Our intrinsic, Arc Conductor, reads, Powered heavy attacks charge the wielder, enabling them to resist arc damage and chain lightning to nearby targets. Our trait, Transcendent Duelist, is irrelevant because we're not on Prismatic. And our catalyst, for which there is no description, is also irrelevant because we are not on Prismatic. But don't worry, those two don't do much anyways. Obviously, there are a lot of Ergo Sum rolls that you can get. Personally, when it comes to ad clear, I prefer the Arc Conductor one, as it's very great at taking out large groups of targets. And the frame doesn't matter too much. Generally, I like using Ergo Sum here because it's a sword that does not require heavy ammo and will benefit from our Banner of War. So we get to use a sword in the build without sacrificing our heavy slot. And for our next exotic, we're going to be using Wishful Ignorance. Our trait, Wish Dragon's Talons, reads, Gain an additional Frenzied Blade charge. Frenzied Blade and Flechette Storm briefly increase their damage with each strike. Pulses from your Banner of War return melee energy based on the number of allies healed. Given that Banner of War isn't on the Titan Prismatic subclass, when this exotic came out with the release of the final shape, I never saw too much use of this, which is a real shame because it's really good. Right off the bat, giving an additional melee charge, taking us from 3 Frenzied Blade charges to 4. and also increasing the damage of each subsequent attack from either your regular Frenzy Blade melee or your Flechette Storm melees. And on top of all of that, pulses from your Banner of War now return melee energy, which increases for each person you have within the banner. And yes, it will even give you a small amount of melee energy when you are the only person in the Banner of War. So this exotic synergizes really well around team play while also massively improving the Strand kit for Titans. Now let's look at some of our mods, starting out with our seasonal ones. Authorized mods melee for a reduced cost to melee armor mods, the thick of it, so that rapid final blows while surrounded grant us armor charges, and when boosted, swords gain increased charge rate, and concussive reload, so any of our grenade launchers will be able to apply weaken to targets. As for our armor mods, you're going to want to use a lot of the ones that promote melee usage, and special ammo finder for our Ergo Sum. So, for our gameplay loop, essentially, you're going to want to start out with some sword kills to raise our Banner of War. So rush in with your Risk Runner Ergo Sum and get a bunch of chain kills to raise the banner. Once raised, find a group of adds and start wailing on them with Flechette Storm projectiles, where each subsequent attack deals additional damage, as well as the banner giving additional damage to our melees and our swords. The banner will also heal us and give melee energy for each pulse. And make sure to have some strand weapons equipped to take advantage of the unraveling rounds from your melee final blows. You have your super in case you need it in a pinch, and apart from that, whenever you get your melees, continue to slide in and keep firing your Flechette Storm projectiles. So, that's the build, but as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Got plenty more builds and ideas on the way as usual, and with all that out of the way, let's go right to the showcase. Alrighty, let's see what this build can do. How about we just instantly start out with that, yeah? If you're watching this video, then that means I was able to edit it while I was out on vacation. If you're not watching this video, well then, I guess that speaks for itself. Not bad. Can't really do a whole lot against these Screebs. Always the exploding enemies. Every build is useless against exploding enemies. I refuse to do the seasonal story again, which is why we're still in Onslaught, even though it's Act 2. The aesthetic for this exotic is pretty cool, although it kind of looks like you have a robot arm with a human hand. What do we got? Come on, Threadlings. Kill stuff for me. That's a pretty cool combo right there. Flechette Storm into the super. That's pretty cool, I can't lie. Alrighty. That was the build. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now we'll see you next time. Stay alrighty.